The Wholeness Network. Awaken to the reality of wholeness.
We are so excited to start this discussion about wholeness and why we named this network the Wholeness Network, what that word means to us. We feel like it's not a name that's talked about very often. And I think in relation to this industry, many people would use the word wellness.
I was really surprised when we started to use that as a hashtag and that kind of thing, how much that it was not being used. That's to our advantage because we get to present that to the world. And that's part of the reason why I'm so excited. I love the idea of wholeness.
Yes.
The idea of wholeness.
So tell us, Michelle, because we've looked up the dictionary definition. What does that mean?
So the dictionary definition is the state of forming a complete and harmonious whole or unity, the state of being unbroken or undamaged. And when we hear that, we get all fluttery inside because that's just exactly what we like about the word wholeness. It's the state of forming, which we discussed how interesting that is, because you would think a state of being is already done. Yeah, right? But it's forming, it's evolving, it's becoming. That means complete sense. You know, we thought we were conflicting in our thinking, that we want to become whole, but we are whole, but we want to become whole. And that really is how it works. That's really the truth.
So we'll talk about both aspects of that definition. There's really two pieces to that. But the first is that you're in the state of forming a complete and harmonious whole, that you are the sum of all parts of you, and all parts of you create that perfection and that complete unit of your life. And this wholeness comes from the inside out. It's not something that we need to obtain outside of ourselves to bring into us to make us whole. Our wholeness existed when we arrived here. We were complete. We were harmonious. We were unified as a being. We arrived here whole.
I loved this morning, Robin texted me and says, let's learn about it. And so tell a little bit about that experience, learning about wholeness.
Well, one of the things that I realized this morning is, if you think about our lives, being whole as a 2-year-old is a different meaning than for me now being whole as a 50-year-old. There's so much greater depth to me now and so many more experiences to me now. And yet I'm no more whole than I was when I was 2. I was whole then as well. But what happens as we go through our life is that hard things come up and trials happen. And as we experience things that are almost too difficult for us to bear, it's as if we become damaged or we become broken. And in that state, we then step out of our wholeness, because remember, that second definition of wholeness is the state of being unbroken or undamaged. In a broken or damaged state, all that means is that we need to return. We need to come back to the truth of who we are. Many times in traumas of our lives, we start believing things about ourselves or our life that aren't true. We have tools on the network. We have things that you can use if you feel like you're out of alignment with your own wholeness. We've got all these tools that can bring you back into alignment through your chakras, through sound therapy, through EFT, through tapping, through meditation, through affirmations. There's all of these tools that we have designed to take you out of that state of being damaged or broken or hurt or just simply not feeling like yourself, and coming back to the truth of who you are, which is a state of wholeness.
Wholeness has been something that's almost a little bit sacred to me, because in my experience, realizing that my wholeness included all the good and all the bad, and that was something that made me complete. And if I really got down to it and really wanted to remove what I wish I could remove or thought I needed to remove, then I would be missing something. I would not be whole. And that opened up for me healing of my, emotional, felt like damage and broken just by itself, just the reason,
Right.
just being able to allow those parts of me to be essential to who I am.
Right.
And you get to that space of holding gratitude for those somewhat broken parts.
And I met you in one of those stages of your life where things in your life felt broken, and yet the growth of who you become because of those challenges in your life, to me, has been thrilling and amazing to watch. And you are this incredible, amazing person with a depth that you would not be without that.
Yeah, I hold that gratitude every day for that. And I would challenge people to look back at those things that have happened to them, because when you look back at perspective, it's much more complicated than to say, yeah, my life would be better if I could just cut that out of it.
Right.
It becomes so much more complicated as I work with clients and just speaking with individuals, and the most horrific things happen to them.
Right.
And yet, without those horrific things, other things come forward that are miraculous and something not to be missed out on.
Absolutely.
I love wholeness. I love the idea of embracing that. And I can see it in their eyes as I talk to them about embracing those things. There's just a relax to it.
I know. A peace.
Yes.
One thing that I think I see also in people, when they've had a hard time in their life, they feel like life can never be the same again. And so what was broken can never be reassembled. And I think that part of understanding wholeness, as the definition said, it's a state of forming this completeness. Your wholeness may look like a new you. It may look like a new life. When all those pieces come back together again, it may expand in some way or take another form that feels different. But as individuals, we are in evolution all the time.
Right.
We are in a constant state of evolution, and don't resist or spend time being in despair about what was in the past. Focus on what is in the present, and what wholeness can you create in the present with all the experiences you've accumulated in life. Every new phase of your life is going to require a new you.
I love that. That's beautiful and so true. And like you said, tying it back to what you said before, it's almost it's like an optical illusion paradigm shift kind of thing to think about it, because it wasn't that you weren't whole then before you had this, and you're whole now. And how that becomes such a beautiful process to always be in the state of forming a complete and harmonious whole, always in that state.
Right.
It's almost like the sad is just hold still and do nothing. Like if you move forward or move backward, you're learning something, you're creating the whole. There's times when it does feel like life is broken, or what you would say, I'm moving backwards. It's expanding the wholeness.
And one of the images that came to mind, if you've seen those expanding balls, you can find them on the internet, but they're just a plastic structure, but it expands or decreases, and it's a sphere. If you expanded that into a big ball and looked at it, all sides of that sphere are important. All sides of that contribute to the making of the whole. In a sphere, no one part of it is weighted more heavily than the other. No part of it is better seen or more visible than the other. Everything in a sphere is equal, and equal in importance and significance in its contribution to the whole. And that ties back to what you were saying, that every part of you is important. Every piece of your journey is important. And every thing that has broken down in our life that has had to be rebuilt again in a new way is important.
And that ties into a little bit of our logo.
The seed of life, if you understand sacred geometry, it's a symbol. The seed is part of the flower of life, which is a bigger piece of the pattern. But as we studied it, it's so beautiful because if you think of a seed holds the entire intelligent blueprint for life within it. And that is how we were created. Those seeds, anything that we need, was already given to us before we got here. We were created with all of those blueprints for success, things that we would need in this life. And yet a seed can lie dormant for a long time and not really grow unless the conditions become right for it to burst into life. Sometimes our greatest gifts and our greatest qualities are like those seeds that are lying dormant. And when hard things come in life, it just bursts us wide open.
Right.
And in letting more light in and letting more truth in, and being faced with that adversity, we really have to dig deep to find our strengths. Sometimes our greatest gifts and our greatest qualities are discovered in those hardest moments of life. But it wasn't that was never a part of us.
Right.
If that quality is courage, we came here with that courage. That courage was inside that seed of who we are. But the right circumstances in our life allowed that seed to grow and expand.
I love that. That's beautiful. So in our logo, it's also one of the key components is the 7 circles interacting with each other. And the representative of 7 goes along with our chakras, our 7 notes on a scale, 7 colors of the rainbow, and 7 days of creation is another idea. But 7 is known as the number of complete or whole. You know, and they even say it represents even the beginning cells of the human. Like you were saying, that's the seed of life. When the body is an 8-cell embryo, it has everything it needs for its whole entire life. It doesn't acquire anything more than that. It has what those, especially the emotional and those kind of things, it's built into those little bitty cells as we grow and expand to become millions of cells.
This has been really fun for us to discuss wholeness, to get clear on what wholeness means to us, and what wholeness can mean for all of you. I remember I had a friend that died about 4 years ago, and she was dying of cancer, and yet every part of her life was complete. Before she passed on, she really took the courage to look at every aspect of who she was, every part of her life that had contributed to that whole, and take it apart and find peace with it. And even though her physical body was broken down, in the end, she was one of the most whole and complete individuals that I've ever known. I think for me, even watching her, that brought a new clarity and new definition to what wholeness means. We are the physical body, but we are the spirit. We are the mental body. We are the emotional body, and we need to care for and address all of those parts of us to find that completion in our wholeness.
Because as soon as we accept the wholeness, then it's ours.
You know, it's ours.
I like that. So as we move forward on this network with us, we hope that you'll join the network. We hope you'll become a part of the membership of the network and recognize and know that this is our intention and our goal, to help you always know that you are whole, you are perfect. Everything about your life contributes to the greatness of who you are. But in that state of constantly forming and completing that harmonious whole, there may be times that you feel broken or damaged or out of alignment with your truth. The tools, the speakers, the classes, the techniques, the products, all of the things that we have offered here are to help you shift out of that state and back into the state of peace and wholeness within you, so that you can really live the full life that you're intended to live here.
I love it. Thank you, Robin.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you for listening. Join the community of knowledge and growth at thewholenessnetwork.com.